Hey, and welcome to the Meditations and Musings podcast. I'm Elena Lipson. I'm a mama, I'm a wife, and I'm the founder of the Divine Self-Care Circle membership and the Virtual Retreat Academy. I don't believe that you have to sacrifice your body, your health, or your family in order to create true abundance and prosperity. I believe in living based on the divine feminine metrics of success, and these include pleasure, play, ease, grace, and a slower pace. Each week, I'll bring you 1 to 2 new episodes. One of these will be a guided meditation that you don't have to do on the meditation pillow, and the other will be a conversation to help you access your inner wisdom, to ignite abundance, and inspire others to do the same. I invite you to join me on this journey back to the magic of a divinely aligned and well cared for you. And now, join me for today's episode.
Hello and welcome to the Meditations and Musings podcast. This is Elena Lipson, your divine self-care mentor and your host on this journey. First of all, let me start by saying thank you for being here. I so appreciate your presence, your gift of attention and awareness. I know personally how many things are pulling on your attention in this busy, busy world. And the fact that you are here with me for this little bit of time, sharing the journey, is no coincidence, and it is not going unappreciated. Believe me, I value your presence and your reviews, your notes, and all of the love that I receive from you. And I want to make sure that you are getting exactly what you need from this podcast. So if you ever have any suggestions or ideas, please go ahead and find me on Instagram, Elena_Lipson, and message me, send me a DM and let me know, what do you want to talk about? What do you want to hear more of or less of? And do you have any ideas or suggestions for the types of guided meditations and visualizations? Do you have a burning question around your practice of self-care or relationships? I've been married for almost 16 years now, together for almost 20 years with my husband, or actually 19. I'm skipping ahead a year. We have a middle schooler son who we homeschool. I have 2 businesses that I run. So there's a lot of topics that we can talk about, all through the lens of self-worth, self-love, and self-care. My biggest intention is to embody the path of valuing myself so that I can be of highest service in this world. So if you are on a similar path, you are here for that very reason. You want to talk about alignment practices. You want to talk about self-care. You want to talk about how to show up for yourself so that you have something amazing to give to those in your life, whether it's your clients, your children, your friends, your future partner, your current partner. Nothing is off limits here. I'm so excited that we've been together for almost a year now. If you are new to the podcast, welcome. This is going to be an ongoing journey. My plan is to record and record and record until this is not in alignment anymore. But more than anything, I've committed to this podcast for the long term. So I can't wait to say that this is my 500th episode. It's just going to be that way. And I know, like everything else in my life and in your life, what you choose to commit to and show up for grows. That's just how energy works. So thank you so much for being here. And because you're here, I have a very special gift for you. It's a $10 off coupon to one of my most popular ritual programs called the 66 Sacred Rituals. It's a $10 off coupon, and all you need to do is head on over to elenalipson.com/gift and check out all the details over there. So today we're talking about the life cycle of your daily practice. Daily practice, what does that even mean, right? Daily practice. It might seem overwhelming to commit to doing something every single day, but here is the real deal. The real deal is that you are worth the commitment to take deep care of yourself. But the cool thing about daily practice is multifold. 1, it doesn't have to look the same every single day. Number 2, you design it based on your needs and what's important to you. And 3, there's a life cycle and a season to every single element of your life. So your daily practice is going to shift and grow and evolve. Sometimes it'll be put on pause based on life circumstances, and all of that is okay. It's more than okay. It's required for you as a woman. And if you're a man listening to this, then you are totally in tune with your feminine metrics of success. So thank you for being here. I honor you. But for daily practice to work, you have to work the daily practice. And for it to not feel like work, quote unquote work, right? Something else you have to do. It's something that should be looked at as playful. And I hate to say the word should, because I know the whole thing about shoulds, whatever, it's like a bad word these days, but there are best practices when it comes to creating a daily practice. I've been teaching this for, oh my gosh, probably 5 or 6 years now. But more importantly, I have been practicing my self-care daily practice, my magic morning practice for over a decade now. I actually implemented my own magic morning daily practice when my son was around 2 years old. I was having a really hard time for many reasons. One is, I truly believe that when a woman is in her 30s and 40s and beyond, there's a point that you encounter where you begin to question everything. You begin to look back and see the parts of your life that are not in alignment with who you want to become. But you're maybe not 100% clear on exactly who you're becoming yet. So it's this really interesting liminal space. It's a middle ground where you're no longer who you were, but you're not yet who you're going to be. And this space can feel pretty unsettling. It can feel ungrounding. It can feel unrooted, because it is. It's a place of redefining. It's like that cocoon phase. It's a chrysalis phase of a butterfly's life. You're no longer a caterpillar crawling along based on the well-worn paths of your family of origin and your culture. But you're not yet soaring like a butterfly, spreading your wings on your own path of your own choosing. It's a middle ground. Now, first, let me just say with an asterisk that you can go through this cycle many times in your life. And as a woman who's present and aware, you will go through this cycle many times in your life, because that's how women function. We are cyclical, seasonal, rhythmic beings. We are monthly cyclical, but we're also cyclical within a lifetime. So it's all going to change. But for me, this phase of my life looked really tough. Now, not tough in the terms of like I wasn't fighting for my physical survival, but it felt like it. Now, I know that there are situations in the world that are much more dire and consequential than mine. And we can almost talk ourselves out of the experience that we're having because there are people who have it worse off than we do. But it doesn't do you any good to discount your journey. It doesn't do you any good to bypass the physical, internal, and emotional and spiritual work that you're being called to do. Because in order to be able to help people who have it worse off than you in any way whatsoever, in order to be of service in this world, you are being called to do the inner work. That's what self-care is. And so my inner work, when my son was around 2, and we had just been in Washington State for just a few years, maybe a year and a half. And I just came to this point in my life where I realized that I was questioning who I was. I was looking at parts of myself where I wasn't speaking my truth, where I was holding resentment, where I wasn't in alignment with who I wanted to be, mostly because I wasn't even sure who that was yet. I knew the most important things about myself. I loved my friends. I was grateful for my husband. I was grateful for my son. I was grateful for so many things in my life. But that didn't make that inner journey any easier. I was actually experiencing physical symptoms that no doctor could figure out what was going on. I had not yet been diagnosed with Epstein-Barr. I did not yet understand what was happening with my body. All I knew was that I was utterly exhausted. My hormones were out of whack. My pain in my belly was constant and bend over pain, that kind of pain. I was feeling resentful of myself and guilty for feeling resentful at the same exact time. I wasn't sure why I was sad or unhappy or angry, but I was. And trying to be positive all the time was not helping. So luckily for me, I decided, with my sister's nudging, to go to a yoga class because she had called me one day and I was just sitting sobbing in my car after having taken some time away from my family because I just couldn't be in the house anymore. And she suggested, why don't you go to yoga? I remember when you were younger, you would go to yoga and you really loved it. And some part of my soul really heard that. And so I went to a yoga class, and those first several classes, I could barely get through the entire class without crying. Now, I kept on doing it, but there was something about being in my body and out of my head for that yoga class, those first few times, that reminded me that there is something happening in my body that I need to address. And not just through the doctor's appointments, but through a spiritual exploration. And so that's what I began doing. I recommitted myself to a yoga practice. And soon after, I decided I wanted to do a yoga teacher training that was an in-depth, deep dive into myself, really. And I did feel guilty over doing it. I was guilty for spending the money on the training. I felt guilty for taking time away from my family. But I knew that if I didn't do something to explore what was happening with me, physically, emotionally, and spiritually, that I was going to go down a path that would not end well for myself, for my husband, for my son. It was that bad. So finally, through this yoga exploration, through this teacher training, and through really the first time in my life that I heard the word self-care and exploring it to the depth, I realized that I was going through something that was not so exceptional, that a lot of women go through this. And having sat in that circle of women, there was about 22 of us, it was so beautiful to see that I was not alone, that there were women from all walks of life, from different backgrounds, different cultures, who were experiencing similar things. I was in a place that many women had been before, and I was allowing myself to be vulnerable, to cry when I needed to, and to most importantly, move my body and move through it. At the same time, I finally had found several things that were going on with my body that were probably very good mirrors for what was going on in my emotional and spiritual state. I was diagnosed with precancerous colon cells, and an amazing naturopathic doctor had found my Epstein-Barr virus. Now, both of these things helped me to have a new raised awareness around my diet, around my physical exercise, and most importantly, it explained why I was so exhausted all the time. That's what Epstein-Barr does. It makes you feel like you're exhausted and like you have the flu whenever you're under stress. And of course, as a new mom moving to a new state with no family support around me, except our little family, I was under stress. And so I was feeling really shitty. And so having those things finally, after years of trying to figured out, in combination with my daily yoga practice, it was really life-changing. Now, one of the things that happened during this yoga teacher training, our mentor, our teacher, our guide was also a psychologist for over 25 years, psychiatrist actually. And she believed in meditation and yoga and in the power of yourself to heal basically your soul, your spirit through these beautiful spiritual practices and physical practices. And one of the things that she invited me to do, along with the rest of the women in that circle, was to start a morning yoga practice. And I would fight this request for a while because I was still the mom of a toddler and his sleep was still not so solid. And I just was so precious about my sleep that I did not want to wake up early. But luckily, my soul, my intuition knew that there was something in it for me. So just one day, I decided, okay, I can wake up 5 minutes earlier than I usually wake up. And I would do just a quick yoga practice, some stretching. I would do some meditation, and I would write in my journal, which I love to do every morning as part of my practice. And after a few days of doing that, I started noticing a shift. The biggest shift that I noticed, besides having more energy, was that I was able to be a much more patient and playful mom to my toddler. It was really quite beautiful. And it fueled my desire to continue doing it. And so my 5 minutes eventually turned into 15 minutes, and then 20 minutes, and then 30 minutes. And I realized that if I was going to commit to this on a daily basis, I had to do it in a way that included my son. So I wouldn't use an excuse of him waking up early for me not doing the practice. So what I did was, and this is what I coach my clients with young children to do, is I created a basket. And in this basket, I would put a couple of snacks. I would put some new toys, maybe a book, something that would keep him interested for at least 10 to 15 minutes, sometimes more. He loved to read. Even at that little age, he loved to look through his books. So I knew that I would still do my yoga practice and even my meditation with him in the room. And I was not going to use it as an excuse. Now, sometimes that meant that my practice was shorter because maybe he needed me more. And sometimes it meant that it was longer because he was just happy being around me while I was doing my practice. Now, of course, he's a middle schooler, so I can have an hour-long practice or 90-minute practice, whatever I want. He's all sleeping, right? But then it was really important to me to stay consistent. I felt like the consistent daily practice was making such a huge difference in my patience level and my enjoyment of being a mother of a toddler, that it felt like it was very worth it. So I've continued practicing, and over the years, there's definitely been periods where I stopped for a week or two or even longer sometimes. It's changed in the way I do things. Before I used to do yoga. Now I do a lot of dancing as part of my movement. And I basically will shift it based on the season. So in the summer, I like to get outside right away. In the winter, I like to stay cozy in my bedroom. So it definitely shifts. And I design it based on my season of life. So I want to share with you the life cycle of your daily practices in 3 steps. Now, this life cycle of your daily practice is part of the frameworks that I teach in my Divine Self-Care Circle and a very cool upcoming program that I have called Divine Self-Care Mastery, which I will be offering very soon. So make sure you are either on my podcast subscription or you're on my email list at elenalipson.com so you know when this is coming out. But this is one of the frameworks that I'm going to be teaching on a deep, deep level. But I want to share with you the 6 basic steps of the life cycle of your daily practice. Step 1 is to design it. Design it for yourself, right? When I teach my magic morning practice, which is the pinnacle, sort of the focus of everything that I do, and based on the story that I just told you, you understand why the magic morning practice is so important. I named it the Magic Morning Practice because magic stands for movement, alignment, gratitude, intention, and connection. And that is what is a result of the Magic Morning Practice. So I teach it in this way because it's the pinnacle of everything I teach. It's a daily practice. So the first step is to design it based on what works for you right now. If you are in a stage of your life where you have plenty of time in the morning, then you might design it in maybe like a 30-minute or a 60-minute, whatever you want. But it has to have 3 elements in it. So it has the mind, the body, and the spirit. I already shared a little bit of mine with you, but basically it is about finding some form of movement, whether it's dance or yoga or stretching, whatever it is, some sort of writing, intention setting, affirmation setting, right? That's the mind part, where you're activating your mind to be present and aware with intention. And the final piece is the spirit, where you are connecting with divine guidance, with your higher self, whatever you want to call it. And the way you do this is through anything from sitting still and watching your breath for a minute or 10 minutes or 15 minutes, meditating with actually sitting on the meditation pillow, or you can just sit still, or you can just find a sit spot in nature near your house where you're looking around and just being grateful. Whatever it is, it's about finding that stillness, because in stillness, you can hear yourself. You can actually ask yourself a question and listen, right? There's so many distractions right now that so few people are doing that, but the ones who are doing it are actually connected and aligned with what is most important to them. So designing your practice is step 1. Step 2 is claiming it. This is really important. Now, you claim it to yourself, meaning making a promise to yourself that you're actually going to do it, but also claiming it to the people in your home and people around you, because if they're not supporting you in having your morning practice, you're going to be getting interrupted forever. So you let the people in your house know by embodying someone who is really claiming their daily practice to say, hey, during this time, if the door is closed, please don't come in. Or at this time, you know what, you guys, I need 5 minutes to do my practice so that I can show up as a better mother. Just be honest. Say what you're doing. You don't have to hide it. It's not a secret. If anything, it's going to inspire them in some way to take care of themselves. I've seen it happen over and over. In fact, my son, when he was in about 1st or 2nd grade, when I woke him up one day to get ready for school, he said, "Hey, Mom, how come you're so happy when you wake me up in the morning?" And I said, "Well, I've already done my morning practice. I've done my dancing and my writing and my meditating. So that by the time I wake you up, I'm happy and like totally joyful." And he looked at me and he said, "I want to do my own self-care in the morning." And I said, "Great. What do you want to do?" And he said, "I want you to wake me up early so I can lay in bed," because he really loves just laying in bed. "And then I want to take a bath." I'm like, great. So that for years, up until probably about a year ago, he was doing that. Now he has a different version of it. He mostly sleeps in. But for years, he developed his own self-care practice, not because I told him to, but because he saw me doing it. And that has been such a gift because he woke up, he laid in bed for a while, he took his bath, and he was just happy. I mean, that was a cool thing to have in the morning because his entire day became influenced by him taking care of himself. And that is really, really cool. And it's a total gift to his future partners, to himself, to his friends, because he knows how to set his own inner purpose, his own inner compass for the day with a daily practice. So you get to inspire those around you. So that was step 2. Step 3 is to receive it, to really receive it, and not just do it as a thing to check off on your list, but really receive the magic elements of the morning practice, that daily practice. Allow yourself to slow down, not hurry through it. If you're just doing it to hurry through it, just to say you did it, you're simply not going to receive the benefits of slowing down, even if it's for 5 minutes. Just allowing yourself to be fully present, not checking Instagram while you're doing it, not checking Facebook, not doing anything else, but being fully present for your magic morning daily practice. That's step 3. Step 4 is really embracing the word practice. With practice, you get to refine your needs and your desires. Just like yoga is a practice, just like any new skill requires practice, learning a musical instrument. This is also a practice. And so you treat it that way. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be the same exact thing every day, but it does have to be a commitment to practice, knowing that you're going to practice it and notice how it shifts things in your life the way it did for me when I noticed that I was a more patient and present and playful mom. You're going to practice and you're going to stay aware and notice how it shifts elements of your presence in your day, your connection with those you love, and just people in general. And once you notice those shifts, you're going to be more motivated to stay committed to yourself and treat it as a practice. That's step 4. Step 5 is refine. Refine it. Just like any skill set that you're developing, you're going to be navigating it with your intuition, with what you know about yourself and what you enjoy. Just like for me, I realized that I do have a rhythm. In the summer, when it's warm out, I want to get outside almost right away. In the winter, like I said, I love my warm little cocoon in my bedroom. There's things that I've shifted over time, the way I journal, the way I meditate, the way I decide what movement to do. Sometimes I'm very committed to dancing every day, and sometimes I just wake up and say, what do I need most today? But I know I'm committed to the practice. So continue to refine it every day as you go. This is your practice. There's no rules here. I'm just giving you the best practices that I have learned after a decade of practicing this. And finally, the 6th element is repeat. Just keep going. Just repeat it every day. If you skip a day, no worries. Just come back the next day. So let me just repeat those 6 elements of the life cycle of your daily practice. Design it based on your needs. Claim it to yourself and to those around you. Receive it. Slow down so you can actually receive the benefits and the magic of having a daily practice. And then practice. Like, treat it like a practice. You do not have to treat it like another thing to get perfect or right. There's no such thing. This is your daily practice, and you get to treat it as such. Number 5 is refine. Refine it as you go. You will start to see what you really enjoy, what works for you, what isn't working for you, and shift and pivot based on those awarenesses. And number 6, repeat. Repeat has to be built into it, because if you just do it once, just like doing yoga once or working out once, you're simply not going to get the benefits of it. You're just going to feel the discomfort of trying something new that didn't feel perfect the first time. Again, there's no perfect. It's just about practice, refining, repeating, right? So that's the life cycle of your daily practice. I highly encourage you to listen to this episode again and to make some more aware notes to really understand what inspired you about my story, about the 6 elements of a daily practice, that it's a life cycle. And the most important word being cycle, right? As a woman, you have seasons and cycles, and these require you to show up. And the Magic Morning Practice is one of the most powerful ways that I understand and teach and embody of really being able to claim ownership of how you want to show up in your life, in your relationships, and in your business. So I hope that you have been inspired to create your own daily practice, your own Magic Morning Practice. And if you need any guidance on this path, if you go to my website, elenalipson.com, you'll see that on the front page and a little pop-up that comes up. As my free gift to you, I have a free video where I teach you how to do this, how to create your Magic Morning Practice. But hopefully you've received enough inspiration today to start your own. Start today, start tomorrow. There's no right or wrong. And again, it's a Magic Morning Practice. A daily practice could happen anytime. I choose to do mine in the morning because I truly believe that the way you start your day is the way you show up in the world. So I invite you to try it. Try it for 1 day, 2 days, 3 days. Just try it. See how it affects your entire being and presence and attention for the rest of the day. All right, my friends, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate your attention and I appreciate your presence. I would love to hear from you. If this resonated with you, this episode, please share it with a friend. Go ahead and rate and review the episode. It really helps for the ranking so that so many women around the world who are in dire need of some self-care practices start to get the message. And that's my mission, is to spread this far and wide so that women just like you, can begin to reclaim your voice, to reclaim your body wisdom, and to begin to listen to your intuition as the number one guiding source of your life. Of course, divine presence is always there, but that's what your intuition is. It's guided by divine. So I wish you a phenomenal day, rest of your day. I hope you take a nice deep breath and really appreciate the power and the purpose that your life has. And thank you so much for allowing me to be a presence in your life today. Again, this is Elena Lipson, your Divine Self-Care Mentor. Thank you so much for being here on the Divine Self-Care Meditations and Musings podcast. And I'll see you next time. And hey, take care of yourself.
Thank you so much for listening and learning about the new Divine Self-Care way of being in your life, business, and the bedroom based on the divine feminine metrics of success: pleasure, play, ease, grace, and a slower pace. If you're ready to bust the myth of overwhelm and tap into an inspired start to each day, I've put together a free video series for you to help you start each day with energy, inspiration, and ignite that inner pilot light which attracts joy, magic, and synchronicity. You can access my 3-step Magic Morning Practice to help you ignite your inner light and attract the abundance that you're craving. Head on over to elenalipson.com/gift. And if you enjoyed this episode, I would so love if you share it with a friend, a sister, a mother, a daughter, and please leave a review. That is how the magic starts to ripple out. Here's wishing you a day full of beauty, magic, and divine self-care. I'll see you next time at the Meditations and Musings podcast.